Hi there, I'm Coach Hannah, and this is my pelvic alignment mobility series. These 8 exercises are a great way to help you work on the alignment and mobility of your hips and pelvis. Let's get started. Our first exercise is going to be a frog pose rock. So to get into a frog pose, we're going to start in a quadruped position, and then we're going to start to move our legs wider than our hips. Our toes are going to turn outward, so we're in this kind of weird, awkward pose. You might feel this in the inner thighs, you might feel it in the hips. This pose in of itself can be a really good stretch. What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of movement. So we're going to tuck our pelvis underneath us, engaging our core, placing our hands underneath our shoulders, and we're going to slowly start to rock front to back, being sure to keep that pelvis tucked under and keep the core engaged. Honoring your range of motion here. Moving front to back. About 8 to 12 reps, whatever feels good. And I will visualize this from the side as well. Turn those toes out, rock. If you're finding there is pressure on the knees, bring the feet underneath you instead of turning them out, or you can bring the knees closer to each other. Our next move is going to also be in the frog pose position. However, we are going to be doing frog pose cat-cows. So to start, we'll get in that frog position again, bringing those knees wider than hip distance, and we can turn the toes out. If the body allows for it, if you don't have the mobility for this yet, keep those toes underneath the foot. So from here, we are going to take our pelvis and we're going to draw it inwards as we lift up through the upper back, pushing the floor away, spreading our scapula. Holding for a moment, and then we're going to slowly start at the pelvis. Bring the chest up, arching through the back. Everything here starts at the pelvis. You can also do just a regular cat-cow, slowing it down. The frog position helps open up our hips a little more and get a little bit deeper. And from the side. As you become more mobile, you'll be able to bring those knees farther apart. The farther apart that you can get them, the more stretch and benefit you're going to have. Making sure we do nice, slow, controlled movements. Our next move is quadruped hip circles. So for our quadruped position, we're going to make sure that our fingers are spread wide to support our wrists, and our shoulders, elbows, and wrists are stacked in alignment right on top of each other. Those hips and knees are stacked, unlike our frog pose position where our knees are wider than our hips. We want to be nice and stacked. From here, we're going to start to bring the hips all the way forward and around. Imagining that you're going to hit all 4 corners of the mat. Making sure to switch directions after you've done a few. Our next move is a quadruped hip lift. So same position in our quadruped position, all four hands and knees on the ground. From here, we are going to engage through the core. So tuck that pelvis in. And the goal, this might be a very minor movement, but the goal is to lift up one side without utilizing that other side or moving the hip, trying to keep them stacked on top of each other. Our next move is an ab stabilizer march. So this move is going to be started lying down. And what we're going to do is we're going to tuck that pelvis underneath us. You might lift up the hips to readjust here. And from here, you are engaging all the way up the core. As we engage, we're going to lift one leg at a time. Feeling those hip flexors work. And our pelvis turned inwards. Making sure to go nice and slow. Keeping the low back pressed against the floor. Our next move is called a Shinbox switch. So we are going to be starting in what we call a Shinbox or a 90-90 position. You may have heard. This is our setup starting position. So everything is at 90 degrees. Our foot, ankle, and our knees are all at 90 degrees. Taking the fingers down behind you to support yourself, lift up through the chest, keep that pelvis tucked underneath. We're going to slowly drive through the heels as you push yourself back, almost coming into this open leg position and then switching which side the knees are going. Opening up, taking it back to the opposite side. Really doing this controlled and nice and slow. If you feel like you are walking or scooting forward as you keep switching back and forth, I want you to start to press away from the floor as you switch. So the goal is to drive the heels down into the floor, press yourself back, and then switch. This should help prevent you from walking forward as you do these switches. Our next move is a lying hamstring pulse. So what we're going to do is lie down, face up. One leg stays nice and bent. The other leg is going to come up nice and straight, and you're going to interlace your fingers behind the thigh or the calf, wherever feels comfortable for you. And we're going to make sure that pelvis is tucked under as we slowly start to bring that leg in and out, very controlled. We don't want to be bouncing our leg, but by adding the resistance, we're going to help find that deeper stretch and mobilize the spine and the pelvis. Good. Switching legs. Our next move is a lying internal external rotation of the knee. We're going to begin by lying on the ground, straightening through both the legs. One leg is going to come up. This is the leg that we're going to be working on. I like to stabilize my leg by putting my hands together behind my thigh, flexing those toes. We're going to start by internally rotating the foot in and externally rotating it out. You're going to find that internal rotation is a lot easier than that external rotation. Your range of motion is probably going to be a lot less going out. You want to think about bringing the pelvis underneath you, tucking it in towards your body, and keeping that low back pressed on the floor while you rotate. Good, switch sides. And there we've got a pelvic alignment mobility series. And these 8 exercises can be done anywhere as long as you have a little bit of space to move. Thanks so much for joining me. See you next time. Bye.